Fantic Integra XF1 race. Also ridden as well as crashed on YouTube right now. So, what do you need to know about Fantic? Because you might not have heard of them from a mountain bike point of view before, but they've been in motorised two-wheel vehicles for a long old time. Italian manufacturer, and actually their first product was a off-road styled moped. So in terms of low power off-road vehicles, they've been at it since the 60s, which is a hell of a lot longer than most e-bike manufacturers. And they've actually integrated everything together really well. Gone with a Bros motor, so plenty of torque through that, 90 newton meters. You've got a 630 watt hour battery, so plenty of capacity for longer rides, which is what I'm doing it on it today. And quite a lot of innovation started by them that other people are doing now, like the fact it's a mullet bike, so it's got a 29er front wheel and a larger volume 27.5 rear wheel, which really helps when you're cutting through slop on softer times compared to having a plus tyre up front. In terms of handling, so this is a 65.5 degree. I actually measured it in the workshop as a 64.5, so that's a bonus as well. And this Bros motor is really powerful, so it'll give you a full 400% assistance. Most motors will only give you about 300, 340 on the Bosch, I think. And it's so quiet because there's actually a belt drive in there rather than just being fully geared. But that does make it bulky and pretty heavy. And the other slightly sneaky thing that Bros is, I've noticed it just cuts out at a slightly higher speed than other e-bikes. If you're really careful with it, you can get it to about certainly top end of 26k an hour, almost 27 before the motor cuts out. So with others cutting out around 25, just a little bit of extra edging can really hurt people with. Not that I do that to my friends, obviously, hell no. And what's interesting, although they do 180 Integra, this 160 actually has what we call more progressive geometry. It's got 460mm reach on this large, whereas the 180 is actually shorter. So it's a more stable bike. And with this 29er up front, you can properly carve the weight around. And the weight's not super low, but it's not obviously high either. So, you know, no problem getting the ear over on it. Stem could be a bit shorter. It's a 60mm stem, and you got a 760mm bar, so it's not super enduro in terms of leverage and sensitivity on the steering, and also a relatively long chainstay on all sizes, 460mm out to the back wheel, so a bit of a kite effect on the back end there, which gives it great climbing traction, but means it's not really a natural whipper when it comes to tighter corners. You do have to allow for that in the weight distribution, but it's certainly not as extreme as some bikes to getting on towards 500mm stage. These Maxxis tyres give a good balance of grip and rollover speed, and the 160mm suspension works really well. Obviously got the advantage of unsprung weight to sprung weight, so the bike is less likely to move around. It stays solid, the suspension doesn't work, but this race version you get a Lyric on front and you get these Mavic specific wider EXA drifter wheels, so nice and precise. through that lyric fall. And again, only the simpler damper on it, but this is a trail that finds out suspension setups, and so far nicely balanced, and all the other rides haven't really had a problem. Just naturally smooth, well balanced and pretty neutral, certainly through the pedals. And another really nice thing about the Bros motor is it's really quiet. So when you're cruising about in the wild, you can still hear the wild, still get the bird song and the rivers, and you know, trail noise. There's not a constant whine of a motor pushing you along. And also, if you do overspeed the motor, you don't have to drive it round either. It decouples. You know, there are some downsides of this straddle through design. Although the suspension is very smooth, it limits you with how much drop you can get on the dropper post, so it never completely tucks it out of the way. So you can notice it if you're on really steep vert stuff. It's not a full drop, and it's not the slim down Bros motor package that Specialized use on their new lever. It's still relatively bulky as a block. And the other thing, you occasionally get a bit of power pulse and irregularity. At 26 kilos all in, it is a hefty vehicle, and it's got the single shot DX shifter. The idea there is it only changes down one at a time, so it just protects you from overshifting, putting too much strain on the chain and the rear mech if the power kicks in. But that does mean you need to think ahead a little bit, and while steering balance is good, obviously there's more weight to muscle around, particularly at slow speed, so you do have to make an extra allowance for the weight of the bike, and you are getting more of a full body workout riding one, especially as you can go so bloody far on them. We're about halfway around now, 30k in, but as a way of looping up some cracking descents very easily, you really can't beat having some motor assistance. Not saying couldn't do it without it, but definitely be a lot more punishing on the legs. And while it pedals neutrally, the real test of the suspension is down techie stuff like this in GuyKesTV, proper old school downhill tech. I'll take the high line for the better line. Oh, it's greasy today. The one thing that race Spec gets you is decent compound Maxxis tyres. So even though they're not reinforced, at least they're not super sketchy. And as you can see, lyric on the front, even the basic damper gives it a lot of oh, cheers for glad I put my crud fender on there. But accuracy and control even through those 760 bars. But definitely glad of the codes down here, controlling that extra weight. SRAM code 4 parts and 200mm rotors at either end, giving loads of great grip power, which is obviously what you need on a heavy vehicle. Down properly, techie, set like this, and having 160mm of travel. Whoa! Definitely helps, even when you looping the back end out, because it's a little greasier than you thought. So when it all gets a bit slippery and slotted after the summer rain and you've got to hit those ruts, that's when having a reasonably sized 29er tyre on the front rather than some big plus tyre certainly helps in terms of cutting in. Although for sections like that, could be more comfortable with a bit more seat post drop. And the other thing that probably be slightly better spec is if you had at least a double D carcass tyre at least on the back end, because it's a standard EXO TR carcass, which is going to take a beating over time, coping with the kind of abuse a 160mm heavyweight e-bike is going to put through it. So, but to be fair, there's very few manufacturers doing that as standard. I mean, Specialized do it in with their grid tyres. Tyres put a double D on their e-Summit, both ends, which is definitely a win. But it's one thing to look at when you're buying possible upgrade from the shop, is get a heavier duty tyre fitted on the rear before you roll out, because they're not going to struggle to sell the standard DHR 2.5 wide tyre. So, you know, you should be able to do some bartering with them. I have to say, when I'm chatting tyre shit, it's going up here very deftly, and it's not as high as it looked on the geometry stats. So that was frankly terrifyingly high, but a reasonably high bottom bracket, definitely helping on these climbing sections, together with that 165mm crank. No worries about knocking these DMR pedals, although seat angle at 73 degrees could be a bit steeper to really get that optimum biting point. And as you can see, anyone who says you don't put in any work on an e-bike can have a look at that human power figure down there. I mean, 210 isn't exactly the biggest workout, but when you start pressing on the extended climb, you're still doing some work. And the brace supports a decent bandwidth of cadence too, so whether you're a spinner or a stomper, you'll still get that assistance. And the Spec is pretty solid too. I mean, it's definitely more trail orientated than Enduro, with that 60mm stem, 760mm bars, but you know, they're good stiff FSA bars. And I like the fact you've even got little bits of red anodized detailing to match that big Fords and CNC linkage. Got little details on the headset, on the replaceable hanger, and you get a spare replaceable hanger, which is a nice touch, and even in the Sunrace cassette. And to be fair, that shifted absolutely fine. Apart from the usual cable bedding in, you wouldn't know you weren't running SRAM or Shimano. And they're pretty durable as well. And of course the Bros motor uses a full-size chainring, so that adds durability too. So all in all, pretty sorted package. That's not an Uber bargain, but... So, after a couple of months having the Fantic and a big old ride today, some of my favourite single track and some cracking local downhills, what's my overall conclusion? Well, for a start, the fact it'll do a big old day, 70 odd K, ridden pretty hard, and still have a bar and a bit left in the battery is brilliant. And that's despite the fact it's got a really powerful motor, and it's super smooth as well. Suspension really is impressive, very neutral, pedals really well as well. Handling angles really well sorted for sort of borderline enduro trail duties. You can do with a wider bar and a shorter stem if you're getting picky, and I'd definitely go for a sturdier tyre on the back, because it is a weighty beast. But in terms of overall enjoyment and performance, I've really enjoyed having it on deck. And it's not, you know, the biggest bargain out there, but what spec you get is really well judged, especially on this race version. Yeah, Fantic XF1 Integra 160 race. Really well sorted, as you'd expect from a brand with a background in motorised vehicles like Fantic. I've right enjoyed it. Definitely worth a very good look if you want quiet, smooth, long distance e-bike. Top job, Fantic. It's been a pleasure. Okay, thanks for watching. Hope you've enjoyed the test. Hope you've been interested in the bike. Any comments, get busy below. Make sure you check in for subscriptions, notifications. If you really want to support the channel, log on to Patreon, my GuyKesTV page on there, and you can actually subscribe and get access to a load of additional content, early content, in-depth content. There's unboxings on this and first rides and all sorts on there already. And this video was actually paid for by my Patreon, so super grateful for you guys. And, you know, you're really making a difference with the channel, so any help in that way, much appreciated. But, well, this has been the Fantic XF1 Integra race. I've been GuyKesTV. You've been watching GuyKesTV. Thanks very much.